Hi, guys. Welcome to another edition of the Masters Fantasy Football League's Dynasty Spotlight Series. Before we hit up today's show, just want to remind you guys, if you're looking to join any Dynasty Leagues, we highly recommend doing it. We have a ton of fun here at Masters Fantasy Football Leagues, over 600 Dynasty Leagues. Never folded a single one, looking to add plenty more this year. So come join us, be a part of the family. But I think it's time to jump into today's show. We're going to do another quarterback. Alabama product Mac Jones had a tremendous year throwing to Devontae Smith as well as Jalen Waddle when healthy. Got him about 6'3", 215, 220 pounds, and the doc here is going to break down his game a little more for us.
All right, so Mac Jones, 1 year as a full-time starter. His game is kind of predicated on accuracy. That's the one thing that really sticks out when you watch Mac Jones. And, a lot of critics will say, well, look who he's throwing the ball to. It's easy to make those throws. But he doesn't miss a lot anyways. The arm is good enough. It's not elite by any means. And where he's also kind of lacking is with his athleticism. In terms of, escapability, that's kind of where you don't really see him making a whole lot of plays with his feet. But when it's just him sitting in the pocket, being able to make his reads and make a throw, for the most part, it's a pretty good throw. He's a very accurate guy. And, I think he's got a pretty good command of not only the offense that he's in, but also his teammates. I'm not sure he's really like this big rah-rah kind of guy, but, I think we've seen recently Devontae Smith and Jalen Waddle both kind of say, if they had to choose between Tua or Mac Jones, they'd both choose Mac Jones. And they both seemed pretty confident in that answer as well. So with that, I would think that's more to do with just him as a person overall, not just his ability as a quarterback. So all those things combined, I think Mac Jones is a really good prospect, and I honestly think he's not getting as much love as he probably deserves just because of the talent he was playing with. In terms of player comparison, it was kind of tough to pick one out for me, but when I watch him play, even though he's bigger, it kind of reminds me like if Drew Brees were 6'3", I feel like their games are kind of similar. Not really a whole lot of athleticism, but really just accurate, good arm, smart quarterback. So that's what I'm thinking for comparison. What do you think, Al? You got something?
Yeah, I love it. And so I love the evaluation a lot. Another thing I like about his game is it's kind of hard, especially for us to kind of scout this. But I've seen a lot of experts out there saying, for a young quarterback, he does throw with anticipation.
Right.
And, seeing the receivers before they get to this spot, especially against zone coverages.
Right.
And I've heard guys say that's like one of the things that's almost impossible to teach. Like you either, as a quarterback, you either have it or you don't. And it's, good to see, he can throw with anticipation. Hopefully that can, make the jump to the next level.
Right.
But I love the comparison. A little taller Drew Brees. Another similar to Drew Brees in terms of the era he played in and how good he played in it is Phillip Rivers. Maybe.
Okay.
Like that a little bit. But yeah, going back to what you said about Devontae Smith and Jalen Waddle, kind of pretty confidently picking him over Tua. I do think that says a lot, and just like you said, almost more. It says more about him as a leader and just a guy in the locker room than even a quarterback prospect per se. But in terms of quarterback prospects, I do think he's a better one than Tua as well. Well, again, I'm not sure if that's fair to say because Tua had some really good qualities about his game coming out.
Right.
But I do think I prefer him over Tua. I think I would say
that.
I
do too.
Yeah.
And no injury history really too, which was a big red flag for Tua.
For sure, durability and just kind of durability mainly is just what
I got you.
Just feel more and leadership. Not that Tua is not a great leader, but just seems a little quiet, a little more reserved. Where Mac Jones seems like he can take command of the offense a little more and just kind of just looks the part of a potential franchise quarterback.
Yeah, I agree.
That being said, I think it's very possible he's a franchise backup, but not in a bad way necessarily. I mean, I think he 100% has the tools to make it as a starter, but worst case scenario, he's a really good backup, and that's still important for NFL teams to have. It's not what they're looking for in the first round, which is where we might see him go. So, do we get into any NFL landing spots we like?
Well, so it seems like he's gonna be in that top 15, 12 picks. It seems like he solidified himself up there. in terms of where I'd like to see him, there's been a lot of buzz about, Deshaun Watson going to the Panthers, the Panthers being one of those teams that you'd think they're going to go out and try and get a quarterback. I think realistically, that's the kind of spot where I'd really like to see Mac Jones. And it's funny now because as I'm talking, I'm kind of thinking of another quarterback that Joe Brady had that was known for his accuracy, and he lit the college football world on fire, Joe Burrow. So Joe Burrow being a little more athletic than Mac Jones, but the point remains, I really like, A, the weapons he would have in Carolina, and B, being able to kind of pick Joe Brady's brain and let Joe Brady just be able to do his full offense that he wants to do, that he probably wasn't able to do all the time last year because of Teddy Bridgewater. But yeah, I think he'd be able to kind of slide right in. And, he's instantly got McCaffrey and then two good receivers for sure right now. And then, I think that would be the best scenario for him. And it seems like Carolina's really all in on adding more talent on offense too. So I think that would be a great spot.
Yeah, I definitely would love that spot. Carolina's kind of my favorite spot for any quarterback this offseason. Just a lot of weapons with DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, Curtis Samuel, obviously, an impending free agent. So we'll see. But for sure, an exciting spot in Carolina. Another team that I just feel like, I don't know what it is between, Alabama and the Patriots, but there's just always that mental, you just want to put them together. And I could just see him playing for New England,
Right.
Is he the next Tom Brady? Probably not, considering Tom Brady's the greatest of all time. But But could he be a nice heir in New England, and kind of replace what Tom Brady left behind? Maybe. I think Josh McDaniels would work well with them. Obviously New England still needs to put some, more talented younger receivers on the field, but it's possible. They just traded for Trent Brown, bolstering the offensive lineup again. Maybe New England could, have a strong bounce back year.
Absolutely. I really like that landing spot, especially because, I think Mac Jones would kind of give the Patriots an opportunity to go back to what they were used to for 15 years. Cam Newton, not saying that he's done, but I said it when they signed him. It just doesn't seem like a good fit. And Josh McDaniels tried to tailor the offense for him, but I feel like the way their offense is set up, it's better suited for a guy who can just make quick, accurate throws. And I think Mac Jones, like you said, would be able to kind of slide in and do more things. I don't want to say he would do Tom Brady things in terms of the greatness aspect of Tom Brady. I don't know that he can touch that stuff. But in terms of just managing the offense, being smart, making just quick throws, accurate throws, I have a feeling the offense would look very similar with Mac Jones at the helm.
Yeah, it would certainly be exciting. I'd love that fit as well. So now we get into the part of the show where we talk about, our Masters rookie drafts coming up this summer. Where do you see yourself selecting Mac Jones in a rookie draft, assuming he lands in a spot that we like? And I'll use Carolina because I kind of think that's the best case scenario.
Okay.
So pretend he lands in Carolina, mid-early first-round pick to the Panthers. Right. They're maybe not naming him the day one starter, but, got a legitimate chance to play year one.
Right.
And where would you see yourself taking him?
Well, I think just with that situation in mind, I think I'd look at him in the middle of the second round. Again, a guy that's not going to start day one, maybe you hold off a little more on him. You never know. They still have Teddy Bridgewater as of right now, so he very well could play a good chunk of the season, and Mac Jones would be sitting on the bench in that regard, and you would have wasted a late first if you took him that early kind of pick. I think around the middle of the second is where I'd start considering him. That would probably be the very earliest, just with a guy that's not going to start right away. But I think the weapons are hard to deny. The offensive system's hard to deny. And then, again, he's just such an accurate guy that, I don't really worry about his ability to come in and make throws and put numbers up. So, yeah, I think if he ended up in Carolina, I think middle of the second round, maybe even higher if I'm quarterback needy, and depending on how the rest of the draft goes, I might pull the trigger on Mac Jones.
Yeah, I like it. I kind of think, in that scenario, which is basically best case scenario for him, I think mid-second is a definitely real possibility.
Right.
More than likely, he's probably not going to fall into that perfect scenario.
Correct.
And then I think we're looking more third round, possibly even undrafted, and most of your single quarterback leagues that's typical here at Masters. But
Right.
definitely a guy I think we're excited about, intrigued by, and I think we're both rooting for him.
Yeah,
that's fair to say.
Absolutely.
So I guess we always ask this question. 3 to 5 years. Do you think Mac Jones is fantasy relevant?
Yeah, I do. I think he's kind of going to end up in the mold of like a Kirk Cousins, maybe, where he's just, and that's not even a terrible comparison there. I kind of like that, yeah. Just kind of middle of the road where he can have those games where he'll have, a ton of yards, 3-4 touchdowns. I could see that. I don't necessarily think it'll be consistent enough. And again, we kind of talked about this with the Kyle Trask episode too. The lack of mobility too is going to hurt his fantasy production because, as we see, most of the elite level quarterbacks right now, especially in fantasy, are they have that dual threat ability.
Absolutely.
So with that, I think he's kind of capped in terms of where he can go. But middle of the pack in terms of quarterback is nothing to scoff at. So that's kind of where I can see him ending up in 3 to 5 years, just about that 13, 15 range around there.
Yeah.
That's best case scenario too. Yeah. Like Alec said at the beginning of the show, I wouldn't be shocked if he ended up just being a backup. Just because he doesn't have the rocket arm or the great athleticism. But I think he's a smart guy who's very accurate, and that's probably going to hold him a starting spot in the league for some time. And I think he'll be able to do a lot with it.
Yeah, and what's cool about it, a guy who you're really confident in as a backup is there's going to be stretches in his career, probably due to injury or just a little turmoil with the team, where he's going to have opportunities to play real NFL games for a long time. Maybe he's never a franchise guy, but there will be stretches where Mac Jones is, the starting quarterback for a period, and maybe it doesn't last forever, and maybe he doesn't set your fantasy world on fire, but he's a guy who's going to be around and he's going to have some weeks.
There you go. Yeah.
All right.
I like that.
Got anything else?
I don't think so. I do, actually. Go sign up for a Dynasty League. It's about that time of year. Like I've said before, Alec and I are already, engaging in trade talks here. It's getting to that time of the season. The draft is quickly approaching. Exciting times here, and there's no better way to play fantasy football than with a Dynasty League. So go out there. Sign up and come join the Masters family. And as always, too, like the video, subscribe, rate it, all that good stuff, too. Leave some comments. Anybody you want to see us talk about next. And also any versus episodes too. I know we've kind of done one. We'll be doing Travis Etienne versus Najee Harris later today too. So be on the lookout for that episode. And any suggestions, toss them in the comments.
That's all I got. Thanks for listening, guys.
All right, we'll see you next time. Yep.